Ayan, para sa bayan. This is it. This is it! Para sa mga bayani. Yan. Let's go. Ayan na, mga kabayani. Mga ka Lenny Youth. Kamusta kayo dyan, mga ka Lenny Youth? Ano pong update na, latest update dyan sa Lenny Youth? Base dun sa mga investigative journalism nila Badoy, tsaka yung mga bayani natin na mga journalists, mga mahayag. Yan, diba? Gumaganda rin Tagalog natin kasi nakikinig tayo sa mga ni Harry Roque, mga ex-human rights lawyer, napagaling ng mga kanilang presentations. Okay, ito na, may mga updates na tayo, guys. So over the past week, no, especially since last Friday, ito, fina-follow natin itong situation sa SMNI at base dun sa mga conversations natin with people who attended yung mga hearings sa SMNI, talagang medyo nakita na natin yung writing on the wall, no, na very hostile yung mga hearings, very hostile yung mga treatment ng mga congressmen doon sa mga representatives ng SMNI, especially ito si Ka Eric at saka si Badoy. Kamusta naman dyan sa kanilang hunger strike? Ano pong latest dyan sa hunger strike? Yan. Sumama na ba si Harry doon sa kanilang Ito. So, since last week, more or less we saw the writing on the wall at nakita nyo, more or less we called it. We said that it looks like the franchise of SMNI is now really in peril and that it's a matter of time na baka matanggalan na sila ng franchise. Now, obviously, there's no way to understand SMNI unless you're also looking at the bigger picture, namely the connection between Quiboloy, Pastor Quiboloy, and of course, President Rodrigo Duterte, who happens to be one of the hosts or whatever you want to call him, resident analysts ng SMNI or something like that along those lines. No, now the thing is actually nag-escalate yung situation dahil first, it was questioning yung mga reports sa SMNI, particularly with respect doon sa allegations of excessive amount or decadent amounts of travel expenditure by the House of Representatives, especially the speakership of the House of Representatives. And then the next thing you know, ito na talaga, talagang kine-question na rin yung practices, ethical practices, journalistic practices ng SMNI. There was already a resolution for suspension of SMNI's franchise, and now officially there's a move to review yung franchise nila for possible revocation. Now mukhang it's not ending there because this seems to be even escalating further. So the latest news that we have over the past 24 hours, mga kameta, since we had our last live, is eto na. May mga grupo dyan sa Kongreso who are now pushing for investigation into the pastors situation per se. Not only SMNI, not only Lorraine Badoy, not only Ka Eric, not only that specific report about allegations against the Speaker of the House, but now you have a situation whereby some of the Congress people are pushing all the way to investigate the case of Pastor, right? So ito so kanina, opposition lawmakers expressed reservations no regarding dun sa potential revocation of Sunshine Media Network International franchise, citing concerns for free speech and press freedom. So on one hand, may mga tao na nagsabi na may mga free speech and press freedom at stake, at yun ang sinabi ko na of course we have to be very careful. Be careful what you wish for, because if we try to play around yung SOTO law and mga protections na binibigay sa mga journalists, and if we want to play around with the definition of what makes a credentialed journalist or not, then we're going down a slippery slope, no? Nevertheless, my two lines of attack dito against the alleged, man behind the whole media organization. One is, of course, yung mga investigations from the US angle, diba, yung mga FBI, wanted, etc. The other one, of course, is etong also concerns about China ties ng itong organization na ito. So, yung ties daw, alleged ties between SMNI at China Propaganda Unit. Okay, so isa sa mga tao na front and center dito sa mga discussion about SMNI and potential ties also to China, at the same time raising concerns about making sure na hindi magkakaroon ng mass hysteria, etc. I see House Deputy Minority Leader and ACT Teachers Representative Congresswoman Franz Castro na interview natin dito sa ating podcast, and please check it out. Very interesting podcast. Now, Di ba pinag-usapan din natin yung crisis sa edukasyon sa Pilipinas, where as far as crisis sa education is concerned, if there's one person that I want to listen to in terms of what should be done is Congressman Castro, because she has a background in education, particularly in mathematics, no, teaching mathematics, no, sa basic education among others. So please also check out yung mga criticism niya. It's something that we can discuss. If I'm not mistaken, yung good friend natin si Christian Esquer already had also a vlog about education crisis in the Philippines. I suggest you guys check that out, look into it. But now, balikan natin itong issue na ito, no? Because Representative Franz Castro right now has emerged, no? She's like the new star sa House of Representatives. In many ways, she's now the new Iron Lady sa House of Representatives. In the same way that Riza Hontiveros is the Iron Lady dyan sa Senate. Now, if you look at her, she has been going back and forth with Sara Duterte over the confidential fund issue. She has been going back and forth with President Rodrigo Duterte over dun sa mga threats, allegedly threats from the president, former president against her. And there has been already a court case on that front. And a few weeks ago, we discussed, no? Ito na. Kinokorte na pati si sinisapina na si Digong, no, dito sa alleged threatening remarks niya kay Congresswoman Castro. And in fact, it was in that light na yung mga nandun sa Kongreso ay lumaban, ay nag-criticize din kay Digong, may mga PDP laban na high level officials ay nag-resign na. So this is getting serious, and this is escalating very fast. But now eto na. So the next line of attack is not only SMNI, their journalistic practices. It's not only Badoy and Ka-Eric and yung kanilang how they were using or allegedly abusing yung kanilang broadcasting rights and their position as broadcasters. And also not only the allegations, the baseless allegations against House of Representative leadership, but now it's going all the way, no, to the very man behind SMNI, or allegedly the man behind SMNI, on two fronts. No, ito lumabas lang sa Friday, kahapon lang ito mga kameta. All right. So while progressives inside the House of Representatives like Franz Castro, hindi sila generally sold dun sa revocation of the franchise, because sabi nila, we just want to set right its programs, its directions, without them red tagging or vilifying anyone, with free speech and freedom of the press in place. Now, my sense is the reason why, one of the reasons is also because they're worried na about precedents. The very thing that we mentioned, mga kameta, last week, diba? Sabi ko, be careful what you wish for. Because kung ma-revoke yung license ng SMNI ngayon, who knows, next time, if there's another legit media or legit journalist, not necessarily SMNI style, but the legit media comes out and exposes some corruption in the government or Congress or whatever, then what are we going to expect? Are we going to expect them to, you get what I'm saying? So you have to be careful about the precedents you set, and you have to be careful also about making sure na this whole SMNI accountability hearings and all, hindi siya magta-turn into a kangaroo court. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying we have to make sure na yung inis ng tao at galit ng tao sa SMNI, no matter how valid it is, it doesn't blind people to the importance of rule of law and importance of precedents. All right? Okay, so sa isang banda, ang sinasabi nila is, generally, we're not sold on the revocation of the franchise. We just want to set right its programs, its directions, without them red tagging or vilifying anyone, with free speech and freedom of the press in place. Now, having said that, ito yung interesting now. Sinabi nila, we still want to look into the partnership of SMNI with China Global Television Network, CGTN, the Chinese network. Ito yung state-backed Chinese network na version nila ng BBC, version nila ng Al Jazeera, for instance, no? And it has been building its momentum. And in fact, if anything, you have former Filipino top officials like Martin Andanar, no, a former broadcaster also with us in TV5 back in the day, now also working with the CGTN, right? So what people are saying is like, wait lang, SMNI and CGTN have a partnership, and it's agreement with the military and the National Task Force to end local. Okay, so medyo alanganin daw yung mga institutional affiliations ng itong SMNI na to. One is with the China Global Television Network. The other one is with the National Task Force to end local communist armed conflict. So ang in-imply siguro ni Franz Castro dito is, how can you expect them to be how can you expect them to be fair and reasonable dun sa kanilang coverage ng issues relevant to West Philippine Sea, or issues relevant to counterinsurgency, peace negotiations between the government and NPA or communist groups, if there are certain allegedly institutional linkages, No, so President Castro pressed the House legislative franchises to investigate itong linkages, especially with CGTN ng China. No, so what's interesting here, mga meta, is you have a situation whereby people who are supposedly affiliated with the left in the Philippines, supposedly front ng communism, supposedly, allegedly, sila mismo ay nagre-raise ng concern about institutional ties between SMNI and really a communist country, right? And in this case, the state-backed news network ng communist country na yan, which is CGTN. All right. Now, of course, just to be clear, I have been interviewed by CGTN, RT, Al Jazeera, among others. Personally, I had no problem when I was interviewed by them. In fact, I was when I was in Beijing a few years ago. I also went to their building, but I was interviewed on a different issue, no. Among others, kasi pumunta rin ako sa North Korea, di ba? Before dumaan ako sa Beijing going to North Korea. So, anyway, speaking of all of that, personally, I had no problem with CGTN, but at the end of the day, we should have no illusions that if it's a China's state-sponsored or organization or media, do not expect them to be fair when it comes to discussing issues like West Philippine Sea or issues that are relevant to Philippine-China relations. No, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. So what Franz Castro and others are saying, medyo kailangan titignan na mabuti yan. Now, at the same time, you have other progressives who are saying we have to also look at the other potentially troubling situation. So former Gabriela Women's Representative Arlene Brosas, para sa kanya, the House must also go after Quiboloy and potentially look into extradition, no? Doon sa mga charges ng sex trafficking among others. So yung cases na yan, pwede natin pag-usapan. Sa ayon sa kanila, they're saying SMNI's ownership changed. We have not yet uncovered what Quiboloy's role in SMNI is, but everyone's pointing to him as the owner. So ayon kay Brosas, the government must immediately extradite, and he must face these appalling crimes that were ignored during the previous administration because he's very close to former President Rodrigo Duterte. All right. On Thursday, Parañaque Representative Gus Tambonting, chair of the House panel, said a bill seeking to revoke SMNI's franchise was already filed, pero hindi pa siya na-deliberate at the committee level pa. But seeing how, hostile they were to the SMNI people, this could go in very, very interesting direction. So anyway, we'll do a follow-up vlog on this soon, mga kameta, because develop over the weekend siguro magkakaroon ng more clarity also whether they're gonna go all the way after also Quiboloy, who is allegedly still the boss of SMNI. But in fairness to Quiboloy naman, and people in SMNI, they have maintained that he doesn't own media network anymore. So this was the report just the other week. Ayon sa so ito yung mga Suara Sug Media Corporation of the Philippines, also known as Sunshine Media Network, is not owned by Davao-based religious group leader Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy. Ito ay ayon sa isang executive of the network during a House Committee on Legislative Franchises investigation on the possible violation of this franchise in Republic Act 11422. So we're just being fair, no? So ayon kay Mark Tolentino, yung legal counsel and officer of the company, no, SMNI is not owned by Pastor Apollo Quiboloy. No, he's not part of the corporate officers. He's just a block timer of SMNI. We consider him as an honorary chairman, but he's not part of the corporate offices. His name is not part of the corporate papers. He's not a stockholder of SMNI or Suara Sog Media Corporation. So ito po yung dinideny na nila na siya ang actually they're categorically denying that he has any ownership position in the company. But I'm sure maging malalim itong discussion na ito. There's going to be more and more development in this, mga kameta. So don't worry, we're gonna get back on this. We're gonna get back to this topic as there'll be more developments, and we'll have more co-hosts and all with Ronald, with yung mga abogado natin kaibigan, with RRM, RRL. Marami tayong pinag-pag-usapan as this SMNI saga escalates and as the Philippine political class turns on them. So for 6 years, napakalakas nung isang kampo when Digong was the president, but things are beginning to change dramatically, mga kameta. On that note, thank you very much, mga kameta. Sorry, may mga klase na tayo, mga obligations and all. I have to get back to them, but thank you. Don't worry, I'll post links and updates about this issue para you can also check what's going on. What I'm saying is that the big picture, there are big moves here. And I expect President Duterte to lash back even stronger if ever they go after his very good friend from Davao. And also if indeed yung franchise ng SMNI ay matatanggal. After all, Digong himself has a show there and he considers SMNI as his main platform for getting his message out. On that note, thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon. Ayan na, may mga nagtutroll pa dito.